government comes in, back them up, make some provision for them, they will definitely work. So the challenge now is now on the governor. You can see that we think Lagos State, Kaduna State, even Port Harcourt are doing because they try. Look at Governor Rufai. For consecutive 8 years, he always have Kaduna Summit, Economic Summit.
Yes.
What's the idea? Is to inject some things that they need, and before you know it, they increase the IGR of that state. So any state that is not, in fact, there should be a kind of KPI, key performance indicator, that federal government will give to state, that if you don't meet up such percentage of what you need to collect, we will not give you the allocation you're supposed to get. So I think if federal government give that condition, they will go back, work in and look at how they can develop their own environment to provide money for them. But if government does not give them kind of KPI that they need to work and government want to see what they are actually doing, they will always come cap in hand, and Nigeria will continue to suffer.
Now, my take is that, again, on this issue is that actually, what do these governors, what do they campaign with during the election?
Well, the campaign, Nigerian, that's another problem that we have. Most people want to collect what governors is bringing. We're not looking at their blueprint. So citizens must also do their part. As a Nigerian, because I must also do my part.
If a governor in a state will just fold his arms and say, no, I'm not going to do anything to engage, provide a common economic development in my state, engage some of the unemployed. Of course, government cannot employ all the.
At least they need to create, what? We're not even asking governors to create.
Then what day are they now sitting?
We're not even asking governor to employ.
Yes.
How many? A governor may not be able to employ more than 1 million.
Exactly.
But the thing is, create enabling environment.
So what is the government doing
to actually work and doing business? If you don't create that enabling environment, it cannot work.
So what most of these governors actually doing? They will just sit down there. Oh, now that there's insecurity, okay, there's insecurity. My main challenge now is how to keep everywhere secured, and without considering economic development.
If there's no socio-economic development,
for instance,
security will also be a difficult issue.
The Rivers State governor, he just stepped in, and the next thing is signing a partnership with Julius Berger to construct more.
About 200 billion.
Exactly.
Apart from that, I will keep on going back to Erufai. Everybody also create what we call dry seaport. So do you know what? Do you know that thinking behind that? That all the north we now see Kaduna as a logistic capital of the north. That's a good economic plan. So what I think we should do is that there's what we call comparative advantage. Every state should go back, sit down, and look at what they have advantage on. If your own is groundnut, invest more in groundnut. If your own is kola nut, do more. If your own is cocoa, do more. Then by so doing, you will have engaged more people in that trade, in that activities, and it will bring more money to your state. It will create employment. It will also reduce juvenile delinquency. So if you don't do that, it's pretty difficult for you to achieve the expected economy that you
and leadership also said that states with least industry presence: Adamawa, Kebbi, Jigawa, Taraba.
This is quite clear. Though when you say industry, these people also have arrables of land. Most of them is farming. But have they harness the value chain? When you say farming, harness the value chain, a lot of value chain. Anything you produce, make sure you take it to semi-finish or finish. Then people will buy it from you. So that's what I think they should do.
We all know that Nigeria has the largest
in terms of farming, we are very strong.
Of shea butter. What are you doing to refine
ginger,
the shea butter?
Because
you don't have to export. Why don't you provide, just like what you said, this value chain to some of these farm
So value chain is what I think we should harness now. So a very responsive governor, we know that farming is our business. Okay, in this farming, how have you tried to empower these farmers? Not waiting for anchor borrower from the federal capital.
Because see groundnuts that you have in these states now, you now still take it out to now come back as peanuts.
That's why I say Nigeria is operating a rentier economy, where all our raw material is being exported, turn it to finish, and you now buy it at international price. So what are we even working on? So it's as if that we just put our hand looking, and after 4 years we contest, then after 8 years we pack our bags. So they're not having any socio-economic development agenda. So I also blame.
It's why I asked, what do they actually campaign with during elections?
It's quite pathetic and appalling that we are still dwelling. I should also blame the citizens too, because we also have our own responsibility. Some of us are looking at the money the governors are giving us during their campaign. We're not looking at what they're going to do to better our life. You know, some schools are offering free education, some are offering free heads to some level. Why some does not care at all at all? So all these have negative impact. So while you are collecting those money, you're also selling your future, the future of your children, the future of your generation. Because when there is no development now, you are going to suffer it for the next 50 years. And children will also take over from it. And I'd like to also tell you that I don't know why most newspapers, none of them take good significance of the screening that is going to come today, except I think Guardian that takes that screening. It's also vital to us to look at those things. So these people that President Tinubu has put forward for screening as a nomination for screening as Minister of the Federal Nigeria as a whole. What quality are they bringing? What category of people? Do we even do well in affirmation of gender affirmation? So now, if you ask me, I think it's a good presentation because we still have 28. We are expecting. We don't know the number we are expecting yet. However, this movie has bringing is a mixture of politicians and technocrats. We can't run away from the technocrat because if you look at someone like Ali Pate, you know that he has done well. So I even get the confidence of Gavi. You know, Gavi that is known for vaccines to have appointed him and now he's coming back. And you also see politicians. You see 4 governors. You see 4 governors. You see David Umahi. You see Wike. You see Erufai. You see Badaru. Now, we cannot reduce these people's capacity. But sometimes we also have issue of why are you still parading?
Because he has actually tried in his state.
In fact, there is no way you can compare him to many governors in terms of development. If you go to his state, he's a new Ebonyi because he has his engineering experience has brought to bear. So if we have someone like
quality of
and even education, even give us University of Health or something. If you now bring someone like him to Ministry of Health, you see, I mean Ministry of Works and housing, that's a beautiful one. If you bring Wike, Ministry of Works, you know, it's a different. You have to look at all those. So I think it's a good one. But
Omar is an engineer,
and we can also see that. How do you see it, Winifred? Women has been well considered.
Oh yes, well considered. And even our columnist is there, Hanatu Musawa.
That is a beautiful one. They have also do well.
As special advisor.
So should we now say this president is trying to make do with what he promised for women?
Yes, I think seeing the list so far, I think it's quite encouraging.
We pray it will reflect that in the economy because economy still matters. And these are the people that are going to handle the. So going forward, we expect other names because there are some states that are not are considered. For instance, like my state is not. My state is Kogi State is not considered yet. And FCT is also agitating seriously that FCT is not. And I want to join the voice to say. FCT actually deserve minister. It's not there. But it's not there. There's no FCT. It's not there. It's not mentioned yet. We are hoping maybe they will mention it. That stops because they need to be represented.
Maybe it was the fake
it was everywhere. So we expect them to also bring it. But then the case of I don't know if you want to speak on that.
Thank you so much. We just spoke on there, and you know the NSC is threatening. Strike says that there's no going back, and I want you just to throw just a few light because you talked about what happened in Adamawa State that they broke into government warehouse and carted away some food items. That was what exactly played out during NSAS protest that many people took to government warehouses. Remember, they had COVID palliatives then that most of these governors were not giving out, but I don't know what time
they find their way to the warehouse.
So now, and we've unanimously agreed that there's poverty, hunger in the land. So are we going to see more of that?
Well, NLC.
Just on the backdrop that the NLC say no going back.
Yes, actually listen to Joe Ajero. He said it is not a strike.
Okay.
It is a rally.
Okay, it's a rally.
On Wednesday. So it's not a strike, it is a rally. But I fear, according to a seller, former trade union unionist, he said it can be hijacked. And if you look at what happened at Adamawa, it's a precursor for us to be very, very careful. Because once it is coming up like that, it's people want to, add. Because poverty is deepening and everybody wants to express themselves. And that's the problem. So the federal government needs to really work hard to really maybe provide security for NLC.
That's exactly what
because I wouldn't support that NLC should back down in terms of their... Because NLC now is now seen like a toothless bulldog, a backless dog as well. So NSC need to do more to agenda the fact that they are actually fighting for the citizens. So I think government should provide adequate security. But my question is that, is it going to be pari passu? When we are having LC protests in Abuja, is it going to also be in all the states? These are the things we need to look at. Because if they don't understand that, you may say you control FCT,
what
you
about
control other states? That's
because
the question.
many people are going to take it as a signal to, you know what happens and not to stop, to be unruly,
right,
and create
then
this thing. So that is all we can take on this issue on leadership and the ministerial nominee screening. We are moving to another headline story from other papers as well, and that is the main story on other papers, though it featured in these other papers like leadership, but it is the prominent one, and that is the Niger coup and the 7-day ultimatum given to the Niger junta to reinstate ousted president in 1 week or be forced out.
This quickly reminds me of President Obasanjo when he said in Sao Tome and Principe that they should reinstate this civilian democratic elected president, and it's actually happened. But I have issue with this Niger report because it has many hands in it. Now ECOWAS has taken their stand that in 7 days they should reinstate them, and
face military.
And AU is supporting ECOWAS. That's the beautiful African Union. The US is supporting ECOWAS as well. But the thing is that, are we ready to trade off such finance and our military to go and fight in Niger? That's a good question. Is this case not also have international dimension? Because I read somewhere
that Russia
Wagner is also coming there. So we must be careful not to have a big trouble that will not be able to contain. So I think ECOWAS should also engage Russia to tell them that this is not what we want in our environment.
In this case, you say we should be careful. There's nothing you can do about it because the President Tinubu is the chairman of ECOWAS.
Right.
So he cannot run away from it. And
perhaps it's also show a direction for Nigeria army. You know, if you tolerate them, they are so close to us. That means, so that's why it's also, but perhaps you see that it's about African country are being taken over by military. So it's a wrong signal. So they must stand on their feet, and I support them. If they don't stand on their feet, the same thing will seem to be replicated, because you know this military can also help themselves to achieve some aim. However, let's condemn poverty. Poverty is becoming a serious problem, and this army are using that as an excuse to take over from. But another thing that President Tinubu needs to be very careful of. Remember that Nigeria have a refugee camp in Niger Republic. So if you want to fight Niger, or ECOWAS want to really use military force, please make sure you evacuate these people out from there, because you also recall that citizens are also support what military are doing there. The citizens are running after military. I mean, some ministers and vandalizing things and whatever. And I think that's offshoot of that is what happened at Adama. So we have to be careful to manage the case meticulously so that you don't have a serious issue. I also celebrate African leaders with what they do. You remember there's Russia-Africa summit recently.
Yes.
If you notice,
Vice President.
Yes, notice Nigerian leaders are very, very meticulous. They did not send, most presidents did not go. They send their vice president, because they don't want to be in the bad record of the US. They don't also want to be in the bad record of Russia. So they are trying to be so meticulous. I think it's a good idea, but they should also replicate that in this ECOWAS problem, because if we don't really face Niger now, is a precursor that other one may also want to go the same line. So I think they're in the right direction, but they should consult properly. I'm ready for the finance, because Nigeria is always financing about 65% of ECOWAS activities, and we also need finance.
But now, my take is that what about sending military, using the military force to reinstate the ousted president? Our military presently is beleaguered, considering the insecurity challenges they've had to contend with in the country for how many years now?
Well, I don't want to agree in that direction. You know why? I won't agree in that direction, because the challenge we have in Nigeria is not even military major issues. It has to be kinetic and non-kinetic. So the problem is that we are trying to use firearm to solve what we could solve different way. But if it is this case of
there any other way you can solve it? Because are you towing the line of Gumi, who said the amnesty should be given to the...
No, not amnesty. We have police. You know, we are taking away police civility. We should do
But
investigation
because
proper.
we have a situation whereby police is not able to contest.
If
That's why
you
the
do,
military
that's why I
that's
said,
supposed to be
if you
defending
do,
the sovereignty of the country is coming
they're
in.
supposed to do territorial, integrity. If they will do a lot of investigation properly, you can get to the root of these matters. It's not by carrying gun in the long run, because you may have to investigate. Somebody is leading these people. When you get these people, the major leader down, others will definitely surrender. But in the case of
Exactly.
Niger,
But you just said what
the case
has
of
always
Niger,
been my submission, because
right,
you hear paper report, oh, a commander of Boko Haram was captured, and you have not been able to get the source
the source of
the
it. So that I think
one
that's
time
what
that
I'm
you see here,
saying.
oh, some financials have been gotten. Then how come you have not been
The
leading?
thing is
So
still
you begin to
reoccurring.
ask yourself, how ready is the country actually in tackling
Right. I
this
think
insurgency?
if we have to, like, we are waiting for Tinubu blueprint on how to solve insurgency. We hope it will be. But in terms of Niger, Niger own his war, his proper war. That's Ecomong have to go and really. But it has happened in Liberia, if you don't forget.
Yes.
During Charles Taylor, it has happened in Sierra Leone. It has happened in Guinea. So I think it's what they can do. But because if they don't tame these people, this thing will continue to happen and will be at the mercy of the military. Imagine Nigeria going back 20 years. What we have, that should be a bad omen for.
Now, it's situation whereby we have the civilians backing the military.
I think that's sign that those democratically elected leaders are mostly corrupt and people are suffering poverty. You can't be living large and citizens are suffering, and that's where we should also learn in Nigeria. Our political leaders should reduce their overture and how they really take a next fund for themselves and consider the citizen. You understand? Like just like the Senate president, though he has apologized. He said, let the poor breathe. He has apologized.
Who are in support of allowing the poor to breathe say, and he was laughing.
It was exactly. But I read it on his handle. He has apologized and say why he actually mentioned that. So we should be careful with sensitivity of the poor. Poor does not have any weapon than to protest and think of destroying things. So, but if you make sure you manage them, and I always give example of how we can move people from poverty level down to at least to a particular level. So we have to do more. So and like President said, is going to discuss with us this evening. We're also expecting President Bola Tinubu to come out with a word of hope, a blueprint of how the economy is going to develop and how Nigeria will not fall into chaos. President Tinubu needs to be very, very careful and talk to the sensitivity of Nigeria. Nigeria are sacrificing already. Fuel subsidy is affecting us. Naira float is affecting us. A lot of things.
Price tariff,
a lot of things. So president should also come because most of his write-up, the handler must do more to really make sure they placate and talk to sensitivity of Nigeria tonight.
I know that the situation he met on the ground was actually bad. You understand, considering the fact that those 8 years just before he took over, we actually nothing to. It took
some people call it a wasted 8 years.
8 years.
Right.
Truly, the president came in at the time that even in fact during the campaigns, the former immediate past president, the immediate past governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, even also said that he pities the president that is going to take over during the election.
Right, he knew that there's a lot of growth.
That there's so much.
But you agree with me that we have the past president and they are much of like Hadasico. They look at things going wrong before they take action. So
they were not even taking action. They were not even taking action.
Proactive president who will take things as it is coming and make sure he solve problem even before it occurs.
Yes, and what do you have to say just before we go about Tinubu appointing special investigator to post TBN? It's about time.
I think it's a contradiction itself. Nigeria is becoming a situation whereby you started to arrest people before you now probe the person. If you look at this, it's in the opposite direction. It's a good one to really investigate.
Putting the horse before the
exactly. It's good you do investigation, but do investigation before you arrest. Not that you arrest and rearrest. Yes. And the drama that happened between DSS and NCS, it's a pity that it happens. And we have not even heard anything from the
DSS kept the former governor, CBN governor, for a month, more than a month, and at the end they go let him to court on possession of a handgun.
I imagine that because
for even economic
reasons. So I think they should do more and maybe be much more professional. That should be the language.
Okay, it should be much more professional. Well, on that take, we end today's Your Breakfast Show inside Nigeria, brought to you on Leadership Television My name is Winifred Ubebo, and of course, you've heard from my Monday guest, Aliu Elias. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me.
So, till we come your way again, same time tomorrow with another guest. Here is wishing you a beautiful day. Bye.
Be part of our brand. Leadership for God and country.